when others were still struggling to survive in the wild. The man goes out into the wilderness alone. It took 2.5 years to build a new home for myself. The internal facilities are not only readily available, it also has its own vegetable garden next to it. And at the bottom, there's a cellar for grain. It's okay to keep it here for the rest of your life. When the snow fell in 1919, Werther, who just graduated from high school, doesn't want to continue. So I moved out of the house and prepared to be independent. After he found a good location, he took out his axe and started rolling the tree. The big trees in Shanning are very hard. It's very laborious to make him cut. It takes more than half a day to bring down a small tree. Fortunately, at the age of 20, he has plenty of physical strength. Sometimes his luck will be good. Often encounter trees that collapse naturally. The next period of time, Werther is not chopping down trees, just peeling the log. After a whole winter of history, in the spring of the following year, he had amassed enough peeled logs. After the family learned of Werther's independence, I wholeheartedly agree with him. Although there is no human support, but there is some material encouragement. For example, this tractor in front of you. It was a solitary gift from his father. Shipping wood is obviously much more convenient. After transporting all the materials back to the camp, Werther just started digging holes in the ground, fill material for his foundation. He opted for cement instead. It's much stronger than silt. Careful, he didn't forget to sprinkle some gravel into it. It can effectively prevent load bearing and offline. After watering to level with the ground, he puts the mold on it again. Then continue to use concrete reinforcement. The hut built like this. Keep it for 10 years. Due to the lack of cement, the remaining part can only be replaced by 10 pieces. It seems that building this home cost him a lot of budget. When he's done, the entire hut is visible to the naked eye. Take advantage of the spring to revive everything. He's still collecting moss nearby. It is convenient to fill the wall later. Then, Werther used a chisel to cut the logs in two, to make beams for wooden houses. Due to the lack of power tools, it takes 2.5 hours to process a log, and you have to use an axe to fix the burrs. I saw this, and I wanted to sponsor him a chainsaw. When you're tired, all you need is a glass of birch juice. You can bring him back to life. As they continue up the base, Werther needs to draw with a compass, and then chisel away the excess without a single error. Install it like this. It's a serious fit. He fills the gaps with moss. Don't worry about keeping warm. The most time-consuming part of this process is grooving, drilling and fixing with wooden nails. After all, it was the first family in his life, so the studio's top priority. When winter comes, the walls have been built to half a man's height. Wait until the spring of the new year arrives. Werther continued to lay walls on it. Since I am alone, basically, you can only build one layer, and the further up you go, the harder it is to build. So he does this with 2 logs. Create a simple slide tool. Although it still looks laborious, but it's a lot easier than before. He also takes time. Performed a wave of spinning axes for fans. After waiting for the last log to fall off the wall, Werther is in no hurry to cap. You open the window to the cabin. It took him a year to build these 4 walls, but it only takes a few minutes to cut. Although only hand tools, Werther can still saw very neatly. He chose the position of the gate on the sunny side. Push the door open like this, and let the sun in. And the stakes won't go to waste. It can be used as firewood after being split into small pieces. His house is in a very good location. There is a big river not far away. This is where he gets his food and fresh water. Just the opportunity to walk the dog. With the help of 2 dogs, Werther successfully captured a beaver. It took him 3 days to coat it. It dries, and it's an expensive leather seat. Waiting for winter to come will be very practical when building the roof of the shelter, due to their limited strength. So he brought in his grandfather. With the blessing of the crane, the 3 main beams on the roof were successfully placed. At this time, the leaves on the side are still slowly falling, and Werther, who has become accustomed to the slow grooving, then used the reserved card slot to build the gable high. He has a sense of ritual, and stuffed a few coins on the beam. Represents the beautiful meaning of money attached. The temperature drops a lot on the new day. It indicates that winter will come soon. So now he has to hurry up and build a neckline for the log cabin. It is convenient to lay tiles on it later. Neat planks don't need much repair. Just sand the lower edge with an axe. When spliced together, there's no gap. The sunset that day was also great. To accelerate progress, I have to catch up with the construction schedule tonight. Finally, as the morning sun shines on the leaves, he successfully installed all the necklines. It looks beautiful from the inside. Part of the front extension will be a new dialect. It can effectively prevent rain from drifting into the house. You can see that his dog has gained a lot of weight compared to the summer. After building the front eaves, he cleaned the bark out of the house. These are the finest fireflies in the wild, so he's not going to give up. Even if the wooden house has no door at this time, he can also make do with it. At this moment, Werther was full of accomplishment. Tomorrow he will be able to tile the cabin and perfect the interior decoration. Come together today. Werther cleans the roof. To build the keel for the follow-up, prepare to fall on the side of the eaves. After he measured the size, use a scraper to trim the bevel bit by bit. This way, the installation will not scroll around. Before that, he first put a layer of waterproof on it, as the roof's first rain protection measure. Then put the keel on it. because of the accuracy of slotting. There is absolutely no error in the installation. It's not a good day to build today. He's only been working for a while. The first snow of winter arrived as promised. The only pine needles left are gone. The last bit of this bad weather let his work efficiency be greatly reduced. The excess wasn't repaired until dark, because the wooden house has not yet avoided humiliation. So, I can only rest in the tent at night. The next morning the snow was much thicker. When he went to fetch water nearby, found that the river here has not frozen yet. So he jumped in without hesitation. Did an extreme exercise for the pores of the whole body. After taking a shower, Werther felt like he was full of energy. Immediately came with 2 extra push-ups. At this time, the weather just turned bad again. He waited until it was smaller. Take out the thermal insulation cotton you just neatly tuck between the keels. It's a very patient job, but it can effectively ensure that the temperature is not lost. Have this thermal layer thickness. He just nailed the good planks to it. Be very careful when working at heights, especially in winter. If you don't pay attention, you will slip and fall. But in order to have a home of their own, Werther thinks it's worth the hard work. And when he was done, he sawed off the excess. Then take out the tarp. Do secondary waterproofing for the roof. Smooth surfaces are dangerous to step on. Fortunately, Werther ordered some sticks to get off his feet, and it can effectively prevent it from being blown away by the wind. This crisp knocking sound. It also woke up the new neighbors after hibernation. Free time every day. It was used by Werther to polish the walls. Dust on the walls naturally deposited throughout the year. The place in Gaojiang needs to be dealt with frequently. The next day's dew fell on the grass. Werther also woke up early from his dream. There's still a lot to do today. Like the restoration of the roof. He grids the sticks, then fix it with nails. The distance between the boards is very narrow. In this way, the tiles can be easily laid later, because the tiles have not been ordered enough yet. So he chose to block the Russians first. The job is not difficult, at least compared to building a roof. After he used an axe to remove the bark on both sides, he carefully burned it in the campfire. During the period, the heat needs to be accurately adjusted. It's true. After the firewood is finished, sand it smooth with sandpaper. The Russian side built like this. Maximum protection against termite corrosion. After he brushes the protector on it, the appearance of the hut has also been greatly enhanced. The forest is very cool in spring. Werther often goes out to play. On the way, he also accidentally discovered an ancient wooden house. From the outside, it seems to have been abandoned for a long time, but the tiles on it can still be used. For example, after simply cleaning off the dust, it can be laid on the roof for secondary use, although it is secondhand. But you can save a lot of money on your own budget. Still makes him happy. Summer forests have abundant precipitation, so much so that waterproofing is very important. After laying the tiles of the roof, he also came to a birch forest. The bark peels off easily in summer, and it doesn't damage the trees themselves. Can be used for waterproof sealing of eaves. At this time, the human dog is also helping him. After collecting a large part, he hemmed the eaves. 2.5 years of wilderness survival experience. John Werther is already very skilled. Just finished this. God came. Changyu helped him test the effect. It was very successful. Not a drop of water has penetrated the house. He went home for a while the next few days. Come back and try. The remaining leafy vegetation, man. Hidden some wild fruits. Due to too many. Made him aware of the need for a cellar to store food. And at that thought, he waved a shovel. Prepare to dig a secret room in front of the door. Soft soil is easy to dig up. Only the boulder below can make it harder for him. Fortunately, Werther has a slaughter and a clear sky hammer. It can be easily divided into 2. After cleaning the internal stones, he also mixed some cement, used to smooth and harden floors. It only needs to be naturally dried overnight. You can stack bricks around. During this period, it needs to be measured frequently. Otherwise, the follow-up counterattack will be very tired to the ground level. He also used the mold to water a bezel, prevent other animals from coming to destroy. After a day's work, evening is his rare time to rest. Werther walks around the neighborhood every day. Gather some wild mushrooms by the way. The specific variety should be asked by the Yunnan people. The moonlight was beautiful that night. The next day he cut it into small pieces, then put it in the pan and fry without a little seasoning. The taste of this food is a bit unimaginable. After eating, the solar panels he ordered have also arrived. As a modern person, to live in the wild for a long time, certainly not without adequate power supply. He folds the solar panel open, standing on the sunny side. The other end is connected to the battery. Now, Werther doesn't have to worry about electricity anymore. I can also edit videos here in my spare time. The standard of living can be said to have improved a lot. At this time, the time has come to autumn unconsciously. Remember last autumn or last year? He continues to follow his plan. Start to make ceiling and insulation materials for indoor floors. He chose to use sawdust instead. The advantage is budget savings, and it's very easy to lay. The disadvantage is that fire prevention work must be paid attention to. It can be seen that the wooden board room has its own bamboo splicing shoots. Together is as simple as stacking blocks. Werther spends a total of 2 articles. Just finished building the floor. This quality is no problem, even playing basketball on, and some extra corner volume. Assembled by him into a cover. It fits just right at the mouth of the cellar. It's not only hidden, but safe down here. And the temperature can be guaranteed to be 0 to 5 degrees all year round. Ideal for storing vegetables and canned food. For the convenience of up and down entry, Werther made a ladder out of wood. Then the charcoal burned some wood in the wind and snow. After connecting the wooden sticks in the cellar, you get a very sturdy shelf. So the food and storage can be zoned out. You can put some fruits and vegetables below. At the top is a canned fruit he brewed by himself. And some fruit juice jam. Let his life be worry-free. Now just a little bit of interior modification. He can check in with his bag, and that's naturally what you see in the summer. Werther finished the general shape of the wooden house a few days ago. Now as the temperature gets colder and colder, he needs to hurry up and make a door for the hut. Maximum isolation from the cold wind outside the house. After the wood is fixed with batten, it can be more processed. And 2.5 years in the wild. It was so easy for Werther to lift the plank. Even if it's just a hand tool, he can still saw perfectly. After trimming both sides of the wood, split it in two with a chisel. There should be a bamboo shoot head reserved in the middle. The door frame assembled like this, even without the use of nails. It can also be guaranteed to be very strong. Due to the frequent termite activity in summer. So after the wooden plank of the door is finished, to be burned in a campfire, the blazing flames didn't keep him waiting long. The first batch was made soon. Termites of this color have to scratch their heads and leave. Now all you have to do is piece the planks together. Then insert thermal insulation cotton to prevent even if this door is completed. Carefully, he also installed a cat's eye on it. Prevent animals from knocking on the door in the middle of the night. At this time, after connecting with Lotus Leaf, he doesn't have to worry about the cold wind blowing into the house due to the lack of door nails of the right size. So he can only forge it himself. I didn't expect this operation at all. Set it behind the reserved hole. He went to find unwanted branches nearby. Compare the sizes above first. After confirming that there is no problem, remove the epidermis with a scraper. The old rule is to make it barbecue color when it's done. The color after carbonization is very beautiful and retro color schemes. It can also set off the door perfectly. But Werther still thinks it's not good enough, and they put locks on them. And a hidden keyhole. The key is naturally opened by hand. When a new day comes, the snow outside is much thicker. It's a bit boring to build for a long time. The weather is just right to relax. He waits for the temperature to warm up first. Just started sealing the windows of the log. This job is not difficult. Just card in the finished window frame. What about the gap next to the corner? Werther thought about it, decided to fill it with a TV display. After all, it took a lot of budget to build this home. And the warmth retention of moss is not inferior to the thermal insulation. After 3 years, a sunrise morning, he finished the shape of the wooden house. Let's take a picture to the end. To celebrate this occasion, he also specially brought the all-creation equalizer to hunt some wild game in the forest. After a gunshot, Werther successfully captured a wild boar. This size has been growing for at least 2.5 years. He spent a day removing his internal organs and fur, then put it in the fireplace to smoke and charcoal. He also put some pine needles at the bottom. Let the fragrance of nature permeate in together. Waiting for the smoke, Werther used some bricks and the remaining logs. Build a simple cooktop. And the old tree stump that has been abandoned for many years. You just put planks on them. Then remove the surface with a spatula. Just the perfect log dining table. On the way to collect logs, he also collected some wood flowers by the way. Just eating meat will get greasy. These wood flowers are just right for lemon juice. Put in the sugar first, add water and boil, then pour it into a bucket for pickling. Certainly, it needs to be refrigerated in the cellar before drinking. After all, it is better to drink it chilled. After the family learned the news, he also came with his family to congratulate him. So, Werther goes to his garden, gathered some potatoes, and fresh onions. He planted them himself. Guaranteed to be pure green and organic. Wait for the pork chops to be cooked at 7 minutes. They can enjoy this delicious meal. Werther needs a good rest today. Prepare for a complete completion tomorrow. Today, Werther went to town to buy some supplies. When I came back, the sky was snowing lightly. Fortunately, the shape of the wooden house has been completed. He can build furniture indoors with peace of mind. The first step, he decided to make a dining table. So, you don't have to squat on the ground to eat every day. He first scraped the skin off to heavy planks of wood. Make the surface of the wood smoother. Then according to the reserved scale, cut off the excess in the middle. So, you get a brand new table board. And when making table legs, to keep it from shaking, Werther needs to have bamboo shoots on it. Then it is fixed by the bamboo shoot structure. The process is very simple. Make sure that people with low construction skills can learn it. Yanzu of the academy sends flowers. Unlearned hair lost buttonhole beads. After assembling all the wood, Werther brushed the surface of the board with copper oil, while being corrosion resistant and durable. You can also preserve the color of the log itself. His life is much easier with the table. After a new day arrives, Werther mixed some concrete, used to make fireplaces for log cabins. He first poured the cement into the ground to dry, then lay a layer of tiles as a floor mat. The fireplace is hot after burning. Ceramic tiles are great fire retardant. This time Werther also brought a lot of bricks. Today he decided to stack the stove first. After he placed the first layer of bricks, the size is measured to see if there is fog. After confirming that there is no problem, continue to build with cement, and he put a plank in there to do that. The bottom space burns firewood everywhere. Now just keep watering it. Then it dries naturally. You can install a fireplace on it. He is not idle at this time. They dust the windows and stock up on firewood. Alone in the wild. Do everything yourself. Fortunately, Werther is already used to it. The next day, the weather was as good as ever. After drying overnight, Werther, with the help of his wife, successfully installed the fireplace next to the stove. Because of accurate measurement, the finished product did not roll over at all. Now he can make shallots for the fireplace. It's just that the summer forest weather is changeable in order to prevent being wet by rain during the period. So, he simply set up a canopy on the roof. And Werther goes back inside. Remove the thermal insulation cotton from the roof. Behind the top tile. You can use red bricks to build high. Finally, with the unremitting efforts of the two of them, they spend 3 days. Successfully install the exhaust pipe. He also installed a rubber plug at the connection. Don't worry about the rain seeping in. At this point, Werther can finally breathe a sigh of relief. The garden department that already owns a vegetable garden. Every day at mealtime, he can go and pick some fresh vegetables. Some of them can be used as ingredients. The other part was buried in the soil by Werther, stored directly in the cellar. They are happy with the completion of their new home. So the dinner was made very sumptuously. After they cut the beef and onions, stir-fry directly in the pot. Dinner wife wants to eat stew. So after cooking, Werther chose to add water and continue to simmer. He prepared carrots for himself as a side dish. Simmer on low heat for 30 minutes. The two of you can enjoy this delicious meal.